And joining us on the political roundtable today, great to welcome the former governor of the great state of Nevada. Great memoir he has just written called Son of a Gambling Man, My Journey from a Casino Family to the Governor's Mansion. We're joined by Governor Bob Miller today from the beautiful state of Nevada. Governor, thanks for joining us for a few minutes. How are you today?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to visit with everybody in the Sarasota area. I was on a board of directors of an insurance company for many years, and one of our meetings every year was in Sarasota.
Oh, really? Oh, great. Yeah, it's a little different than where you are out in Las Vegas area, but a lot of people come here too. So it's one of those tourist destinations like your great state is.
Absolutely.
Had a chance to read through the book. Really enjoyed your story. I had heard a little bit about it in the past of your background, but I didn't get a chance to get all the great details till I read the book. Was it a fun project for you to write this?
It was. It took a long time because initially I wasn't able to put together what ended up being the final product. And it's although it's an autobiography, it's very themed, as I'm sure you realize. It compares the metamorphosis in my own family to that of the Las Vegas as a whole. And by that I mean my late father came to Las Vegas, was one of the early gaming pioneers. And in the 1950s, there wasn't any big hotels or corporations involved or banks, etc. So the people that came here to start up gaming came from elsewhere, and if they came from elsewhere, their experience was illegal. So my dad was a bookie in Chicago and kind of had to traverse that mob influence, that was there. Brought it out to Las Vegas, where it landed second chances, and became a respected citizen here. And then it evolved all the way down to me. And Las Vegas has had that same kind of change, and that's what it hopefully captured in the book.
Yeah, I think so many people probably get their impression of Las Vegas probably not as accurate as you would like as former governor, the Governor Miller, but from the movies, obviously Godfather, and then Casino and Goodfellas and those type of films. But they are based on real happenings. But do you think people get a kind of a skewed history of Las Vegas that really isn't fair?
Well, I think if you consider Las Vegas today in those terms, it certainly is inaccurate. If you look at Las Vegas in the eras that were portrayed, they generally cover the concept that what it was like. Certainly the movie Casino I'm very familiar with, because I was a district attorney during the time that Tony Spilotro and Lefty Rosenthal, played by Pesci and De Niro in that movie, were here in Las Vegas, and I was dealing with that on a personal level. But the historical components beyond that, before that, I mean, our early histories certainly had an unusual background. Everybody knows that one of the early founders of Las Vegas was Bugsy Siegel. He's the first one to come up with a resort concept. That was in the 40s, and we didn't move here till the 50s. But certainly there were individuals who founded gaming in Las Vegas who came, like I said, from illegal backgrounds. And there was an evolutionary process that has led now to many calling us the All-American City, and basically owned by Wall Street. The owners come in khakis and golf shirts to listen to the annual report.
Well, you were in that movie, weren't you, Governor, briefly? Did you make a cameo in that movie, Casino?
No, I did not. The former mayor of Las Vegas, Oscar Goodman, who had been a defense attorney for Tony Spilotro, played
That's right. He was right. You're right. Yep. I got it. I thought maybe you had made a cameo as well, but yeah, then he became the mayor of the city, which was kind of a fun switch for him. But well, just kind of getting a chance. I got a chance to talk to some of the great entertainers that come through here that worked in Vegas, like Steve Lawrence. Dina Martin is kind of a friend of ours, and she talks about her dad, of course, the Rat Pack years, and I guess that was the glory years, particularly of the entertainment, right? Back in the late 50s and early 60s.
Yeah, Dina Martin's sister had worked for me for a while when I was in the DA's office. But in any case, when probably the best show ever in the history of Las Vegas was during the filming of the movie Ocean's 11, the original movie, when Joey Bishop would open up, and then each night either Peter Lawford, Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, or Frank Sinatra would have a turn, but usually it ended up being all of them on the stage, and they were all drinking literally and occasionally singing, cracking jokes, and it was kind of like being backstage, like being part of a party. I was a teenager at the time. I got to see them twice, and it was really the ultimate as far as stage entertainment. productions, no multi-million-dollar extravaganzas like we have now. But as far as entertainers, that was the era.
Yeah, there's some great film of some of those performances. You can kind of get a sense of it. But when those guys came to town, particularly Frank Sinatra, I think the whole town just kind of kind of shut down, and it was their town for that whatever it was, a week or two, wasn't it?
Well, certainly, they were the ultimate. My dad was at the Riviera Hotel. They were generally, most of them performed at the Sands,
right?
And they would have Liberace, Harry Belafonte, other famous entertainers of the era were at the Riviera. Those were probably the two premier properties in terms of quality entertainment in 50s, 60s, etc.
Yeah, great memories. And as you talk about in the book, Governor, the town has evolved just like your family, and it kind of goes together. Vegas, every about 10 years or so, seems to kind of reinvent itself, right? And I guess it's kind of doing that today, isn't it? Again,
it is. Certainly, the most recent manifestations of it have been more family orientation, revolving back to being the place where leave your troubles behind, and we won't tell what you did when you were here. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and mega resorts. We're just now seeing some reinvestment in that, so the economy's coming back again. It's a different economy. It's a different world in Las Vegas than it was certainly that my father lived in, and I don't think he could have even imagined what it is now. That we couldn't be where we are if it wasn't for his contemporaries, and people like to think in terms of mob influence in Las Vegas for the movies you suggest, and certainly I don't hide from that or the elements of it. The reason that the book is unique, I think, is that I am the only governor in the history of America to have come from a legalized casino gaming family. Mm-hmm. Probably the only one to come from an illegal gaming family. I just don't know. Maybe there's others that just don't admit it.
Well, you tell some great stories in the book, particularly your dad, and I guess a lot of people now with the show on CBS, the Vegas show with the Sheriff Lamb. A lot of those, you knew, or you still know Sheriff Lamb, don't you? He's still around.
Yeah, I worked with Ralph Lamb. Unfortunately, again, they didn't cast the police attorney, which is what I was. I didn't get a cameo on that show either. But I worked with Ralph, and there are some great stories about Ralph in there, and people that have enjoyed that show. The factual pattern in it isn't in terms of his brother and his son. It didn't actually work for him, although he had brothers in government. He was a tough cowboy and a sheriff, and he was probably what was needed in that era. Of course, times changed, and ultimately, after 17 years, he lost one of his elections. He was an interesting man to work with, and he's still an interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah, it's a good show. I know CBS has kind of been moving it around a little bit, but I hope it does come back, and it really kind of gives a picture of what you talk about in the book, what the city was like. I think that show takes place in the early 60s, and that was kind of the heyday of like we were talking about the Rat Pack years and all that. But what you, of course, for people not aware, governor for 2 terms plus 2 years previously, right? You took over the lieutenant governor's term, so 10 years. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, it makes me the longest-serving governor in Nevada history, or as some pronounce it, the longest-serving governor in Nevada history. And I kind of prefer the former pronunciation, but the circumstances really worked to my benefit, and I was fortunate to be in that regard. I haven't held any public office since then, ending in the beginning of '99, but my son is presently in his second term as Secretary of State of Nevada and is the president of the National Association of Secretary of States, and he is named after my father. His name is Ross Miller.
Yeah, just reading through, so it's a family business. That's good.
Well, the family business, it turns out to be public office and not casino gaming after all.
and again, I think more states now, Governor, are trying to get that. I know in Florida, that's always kind of, battling in the legislature. Should they have more casinos here in Florida or sports gambling? How do you see that going throughout the rest of the country? Obviously, a lot of cities and states looking for, more revenue. Is it going to expand?
Well, when I was governor of Nevada, I was completely opposed to any place else getting legalized gaming.
I don't blame you.
I preferred that Nevada have a monopoly. But I think that gaming as an industry has evolved also in public perception. We were somewhat of a pariah when I first began public office. When I became district attorney in Clark County, went to a national meeting and had a bylaw said they'd never meet outside of the continental United States or in Nevada, based on somebody from New York having come to Nevada and double dipped. So it was kind of this illogical conclusion. And I worked hard to get that changed, pointing out the nonsensical nature of it, and got the DAs to come here, and then eventually the governors. I was chairman of the governors and got that meeting here, and mayors come here, etc. So gaming now, having initiated past year with Atlantic City, and then really into Indian gaming, and then beyond that, the states started looking at it individually. And I think if the community accepts it, it can be a good source of income. It does provide jobs, and if it's regulated appropriately, and certainly the methods of regulating it appropriately are out there for people to embrace. It's something that can be a positive benefit, but people have to want it in their community. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I always thought of it. It's a kind of a voluntary taxation. You don't have to gamble if you don't want, but if it's in your state, you do reap some benefits from it. Like you said, jobs and revenue to the government. They won't have to hit you with a tax bill later. So I think it's a win-win for most places.
Well, almost every state. There's only 2 states that don't have some form of gambling. It might be a lottery, it might be racetrack betting. You said only Utah and Hawaii don't have some form of gambling,
right.
But not all have casino gaming. And I think it's only a matter of time until almost all states will have some form of casino gaming.
And whether every state gets it or not, I think the real thing is Las Vegas is more than just that. It's a special place. I've been out there several times. I was just out there a few months ago, Governor, as I mentioned before he went on. I mean, it's still a unique place, not only in the U.S. but the world. I think that'll never change.
Well, we're the entertainment capital of the world. I think it's an appropriate definition. There's so much to do here. It's hard to do it in one visit, almost impossible, in fact. And there's always something new. It's enjoyable. It's an exciting atmosphere. And we've built so much at this point in time, it would be very difficult for any other specific location to catch up with the identity that Las Vegas has. I mean, we're not the biggest gaming market in the world now. Macau is. So,
right.
Despite that fact, Americans, I think, would gravitate toward coming to Las Vegas rather than Macau. And if you're enjoying some form of gaming near where you live, you really want to see the epicenter of it and all the attractions that can go with it. Las Vegas is the place to be. And that grew from a dusty little railroad stop to the Las Vegas that I moved into, which was desert everywhere. And the casinos of those days were ranch-style, single-story. The only exception was the Riviera my dad bought into, and it was 9 stories high, and he and his partners were ridiculed. So why would you build a hotel that needed an elevator? Because we had plenty of land in those days, but not anymore.
No,
it's built in pretty good.
It's the buildings get higher and higher, and I guess originally it started way back with when they built the Hoover Dam. Wasn't that kind of the genesis of that area? Obviously, all the workers that were there needed a place to go, and that kind of put it on the map early, right? Before it became what it did in the 40s, right?
Yes, Hoover Dam, was an enterprise that brought some workers out to the Las Vegas Valley. Las Vegas itself was a railroad stop, a watering stop between Los Angeles and Salt Lake City, or vice versa. And really, you have to credit, despite his background, you have to credit Bugsy Siegel with being the first to envision something different, kind of a resort component way out on the strip at the time was a highway to Los Angeles, and that set the tone for others to come in. But there's consistent change in who could be here, and the strength of our regulatory process, as well as financial, because initially there wasn't any conventional financing, and most of the financing came from the Central State Pension Fund of the Teamsters Union. So you can look at Jimmy Hoffa was, in a sense, the landlord. And it evolved from there to one bank finally came in, and then Howard Hughes bought some properties, and then the Hilton Corporation came in. Ironically, they bought the Flamingo. So Bugsy's Place became corporate America. And beyond that, then you get to the next era, about the years that I was a governor, for example, when Steve Wynn came in with the Mirage and started building these mega properties, and everything turned into corporate America at that point.
Great stories in the book called Son of a Gambling Man, My Journey from a Casino Family to the Governor's Mansion. We've been talking with Governor Bob Miller today. Governor, could talk for an hour on this, but I know we have limited time today. Give out a website, people can hold this book. It's really a good read.
I appreciate that. It's in any Barnes & Noble or Hudson News and Gifts and Amazon, Apple.com, etc. I hope people that have an interest in Las Vegas history or a public person's journey like mine can pick up a copy. It's been getting good feedback so far.
Yeah, it just came out this week as we do the interview, and got some great quotes on the back from some people know about. So, Governor, I hope we can do it again down the road, and thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.